My name is Payton Taylor. It's been 6 days since it started. I'm held up in this barn. There's a lot of stuff around me, which is good. Because I need a new weapon. I'm down to the last 6 shots with my trusty Colt. I'm gonna look around here, see what I can find. Well, wish me luck. Okay, I looked around this area for a little bit, and I found a few things. I found some different thickness plywoods, some large nails here, some fiberglass fence posts, some dowels, some pulleys, and I scored with a 500-foot paracord roll, military grade, and looks like it's brand new. So I think I know what I'm going to make. A crossbow. Let's get to work. Okay, I've chosen my design. I have decided to go with an MP5K style double hand grip crossbow. And I'm going to cut this one out with 2 times with 1/4 inch plywood. This one I'm going to cut with 1 time with 1/8 inch plywood. The only difference is between these two is that this part I'm going to cut off. It'll make more sense when I'm done. Okay, I have laid out my design on this piece of plywood. And there is some really nice hand tools here, but there is some power left in these batteries. Let's put them to use. Okay, I have cut my pieces by 1/8 inch and my 2 1/4 inch. Now they see that I've cut the 1/8 inch a little bit differently. There's a nice channel in there. I want to glue this together, but there's one thing I have to do first. Okay, I've got my trigger mechanism down. I have a flat top, a angle there, and a drill hole there. Okay, I have my trigger where it needs to be, but I have to make 2 cuts. One here, one here. So the trigger has room to move. And how the trigger works, the string will go here. When you pull a trigger, that'll lift up the string, which will send the string flying. Okay, I've got everything cut out. I got my 2 pieces here, which I am going to glue all this together. And my trigger here. Okay, I'm going to be gluing these pieces together with Gorilla Glue. But before you use Gorilla Glue, you want to wet down the parts of your glue. Okay, I've got this thing all glued together and clamped the crap out of. And, sun setting. I'm gonna make my way to higher ground. Okay, so I let this thing dry overnight, and some parts here, the glue's oozing out a little. But that's alright. The next step here is to take off all the clamps and sand it down. Okay. We see our 3 pieces of plywood are glued together here, and there is a lot of glue sticking out here. And you could use something like this hand rasp, But since I have access to this battery-powered angle grinder, I think I'll use this. Ooh. Be ashamed to die of dust inhalation. Okay. Now we need to smooth these grips down so they're comfortable for our hand. Okay, so I've got my gun sanded down, and it feels pretty comfortable. The next step would be to just do a finishing sand, since some of these parts on this is a little nasty. I'll just get right to work on that. Okay, I am pretty much ready to put on the bow. But there's one thing to do. I mean, this thing looks cool already, but white is not my favorite color. I'm ready to paint the thing, but I'm going to use a trick that my old man taught me. It's to put your spray paint in a pail of warm water so it can flow easier. I'm going to let this sit about 2 to 3 minutes, then I'm going to paint this sucker. Okay, so I'm going to let my crossbow dry for a little while, and now I'm going to working on the bow part of the crossbow. There's actual 2 designs of the bow part. The classic design, the crossbow, the one you usually see at Walmart and all that, and it's pretty simple, just a normal bow on the top, the resting spot is here, and this is the draw spot. But this has a little bit of a disadvantage to the reverse draw crossbow. What I'm doing here is the crossbow resting spot is here and the draw spot is here, which means since it's at almost the end of the crossbow, it has a greater draw distance, so it gives you more power for the shot. Okay, so I've already made one side of the bow, which will attach just like this. How I made this is that I cut a piece of wood at a 45-degree angle, and I drilled 3 holes in the top, which is where our fiberglass poles will come in, which I've already cut these, and these will slip in these holes. Then, to cap it off, I cut another piece of wood and drilled 3 holes straight through it. I hate to have this go on for one more day, but the sun's going down. I'm gonna make my way up to higher ground. See you guys. Okay, I got the thing all painted up, and now I'm gonna put on these bow arms. I'm just gonna screw them on, just like so. Okay, so now that I've screwed these things in, I'm going to put a couple of pieces of plywood to reinforce it so it can handle all the pressure. Well, this is the last of my batteries that have a charge in it, I'll have to figure out a way to charge these puppies. Well, that'll be in a later episode. Let's get down to this thing. I think this looks badass. Okay, so I put a knot at the end of this paracord spool, and I'm going to take about 2 good arm lengths of paracord. Then, cut this, and you want to make sure you really burn these ends, so it doesn't fray. Okay, now I'm going to string this bow. So, you want to put the loop end on the bottom pole. Then you want to put your string through the pulley over on top of the crossbow. Tighten it up a little bit, and you're going to put a loop on this end. Okay, so I'm almost done for my crossbow, and there's only one more thing we have to do. We have to put an arrow holder here to keep the arrow in place. I'm going to use this piece of plastic right here. I'm going to cut a little piece off here, and then I'm going to mold it. So I got this nice pot of boiling water, and kids, before you play a fire, make sure you get your parents' permission first. Well, if they're alive, that is. If not, well, do your best. Now I'm going to put my piece of plastic into boiling water and put the lid back on. Okay, now that we have our piece like this, I'm going to screw it in right here. Might be a little tricky, but I'll get it done. What this piece does is that it holds in the arrow and makes sure that the string actually catches the arrow. Okay, so I had to bend it back to put the screws in, but I actually have a way to actually make it so it does this. It's with this screw right here. So I'm going to use this screw as a tightener, so it actually does what we want it to do. Now, I'm going to make an arrow using this piece of tubing and this nail I found. Now I'm going to cut this part of the nail off about an inch, inch and a half. I'm going to use this little piece of paper towel, and I'm going to put it down the shaft. That's only to keep the Gorilla Glue from going all the way to the bottom of the shaft. I'm going to put my Gorilla Glue in. Now I can put that little cut off piece of nail right in the hole. If it'll go in, there we go. Okay, as you see here, I made a little bit of a modification. I just added a little bit of hockey tape to the string. Okay, I just got a little bit of hockey tape on the handle just for a little bit more grip. Yeah, I got both these grips wrapped up. They feel pretty nice. I have a feeling with the power of this baby here, we're going to be going through a lot of string. So I'm going to do a katana wrap on this stock here, so I have a little extra. Okay, I'm just putting a couple stoppers here so the string doesn't fly right off. Say hello to my reverse draw crossbow. Definitely not an average crossbow you see at Walmart. I have a katana wrap here for extra paracord, and I have a arrow holder made out of PVC. I made a simple trigger mechanism. I made the bow out of fiberglass fencing. I constructed this arrow out of a piece of tubing and a heavy nail, and I have a magnet here to keep the arrow in the groove. Bullseye! After the beta test period, I decided to add a couple of mods to my crossbow right here. I decided to add a safety mechanism with this nail here. I just put a little, I drilled a hole here, and also drilled a hole here to store my nail. I changed out the oak I had with some composite material. There is one main reason why for that, because this stuff does not like the splinter, unlike the oak. And I also shaved this down, and I also made the holes really close together, and I also made it so it didn't spin, so I just drilled it directly to the composite material. I wrapped these bows with hockey tape. I had a couple of bolt holders, so I can hold a couple extra bolts. Okay, so I tightened my bow a little bit, and I kind of snapped my trigger. Still works perfectly though. Well, I'm proud of this thing. And I like it for two, you know what, no, 3 reasons. 1, it's powerful. I mean, it went through that pumpkin, like, all the way. 2, it's accurate as hell. And 3, I made it. Out of junk. Well, I better get going before the jewelers catch up to me. And remember, to survive and thrive. Oh shit!